Recently, all the car boots have started up again. It's car boot season. Summer's pretty much on our doorstep. Lockdown's been lifted, and all the toy collectors and the other collectors I know are all going out to car boots on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And I get asked a lot, why don't I film at them? A lot of other YouTubers who do toy reviews, toy collecting videos and that kind of thing, they strap GoPros to the chest and they go out to car boots and video what they find and do little picking videos and then come home and go through all the stuff that they picked up. And a lot of people ask why I don't do that. They get pretty good hits, and obviously I'm always going to take all the video hits I can get, but I don't film car boot videos. And recently so many people have asked me why not. I discussed this a little bit on the Pizarro Pieces podcast because I was on there a few times over the last few months. They've been doing a 12-part series on Pizarro Pieces on his YouTube. Check out his YouTube if you've not seen it already. That's my friend. He's a big-time toy collector. He's a good guy and he does a dope podcast. And I was on that, and a lot of the questions revolved around like filming at car boots and things like that. And I discussed a little bit on there why I don't do it. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more depth in this video as to why, but then I also thought I'll seize this opportunity and do a bit of a Q&A video because I haven't done one in a year. The last time I answered any questions like this was over a year ago when lockdown first started, when like COVID was this big fresh thing that we was all finding out about and we was all having to stay in our homes and not mix with anybody. Like when this first happened, the first lockdown, I pumped out loads of videos because I was just at home all the time, so I did a Q&A then, but I haven't done anything like that in a year, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to get into a load of questions. So I put it out there about 3-4 days ago, ask me questions and I'll answer them on this video today, and I got way more than I expected. I thought I would get like 3 or 4, but I got shitloads, so I'm just going to go through some of them. If I don't read your question out, like don't think I didn't care about it. I love hearing from viewers and followers and people that check out my shit. It makes it all worth doing. But I couldn't answer every question, but what I did is I just like got a lot of the good ones together. So today I'm going to go through them, and then at the end of the video we'll talk about why I don't film at car boots. Also, not all these questions are toy related. Some of them are just like generally about the other stuff that I get up to. I never even set up Slimehouse TV as a toy channel. Toy collecting is just something that I'm heavily involved with, and it's a big thing that's part of my life. It's like part of my DNA as a human is toy collecting and stuff, but I never intended this channel just to be toy collecting, so you will find other types of videos on here. Toy collecting is just one of the main things that I do, so some of these questions are not toy related, and the first one is not toy related. It's, what's the best Toxic Avenger film in your opinion? That's from Bam the Bastard on Instagram. Obviously, I like Toxic Avenger 2. That's my favourite. Not only tonally, I think it's one of the best Toxic Avenger movies. Number 2 is when it feels more like a cartoon and it's more fun. And even though it's outrageous and you've got titties flopping out and blood spraying and fucking crazy gore effects, I just think that one is the one that nails the tone perfectly. They recorded 2 and 3 back to back, but 2 is very much its own beast, I feel. He goes to Tokyo in that movie, and if you've been to Japan, you see lots of things in that film that are still very much a part of Japan today, like a lot of the stuff that they sell, the cheap vendors on the street, toys and food and that kind of thing, they still sell that shit today. So I love Toxic Avenger 2. That's my favourite, not only because he goes to Japan tonally, I just think that's the best Toxic Avenger movie. I worked with Lloyd Kaufman years ago. I did an interview with him, but it never came out very good. The sound and the lighting was shit and we was all tired, and I didn't really know what I was doing. It was literally my first interview I'd ever done ever, and it was with Lloyd Kaufman after like a long day of shooting and stuff like that, so I never put it out there. But he's a really cool guy. I'm a much bigger fan of him and his work ethic and his brain and his mentality than I am of his movies. I think his movies are dope, but I think Lloyd Kaufman is way doper than his movies. What old toy line would you love to see back on shelves with a new series? SadC_the clown on Instagram. So I'm always really torn 50-50 when it comes to like re-releasing old toys new, because a lot of the time I feel like they lose the charm when they become mainstream again. Back when like I really started picking up again, like collecting 80s toys when I was like 17 or something like that, and I'm 33 now, so I've been on it a long time. Like I've always collected something, but when I got really back into the 80s toys, it's when I was like between 17, 19, that kind of age. and it's the only thing that you could get. The only thing that was out was Masters of the Universe Classics. Other than that, you could get no Masters of the Universe. Nowadays, Masters of the Universe is everywhere. Like, if you typed in Masters of the Universe on any kind of, like, toy selling website, there's so many different versions. You can go in Smith's Toys now and find, like, new releases of old Masters of the Universe toys. So, it's nice when that happens, but when that does happen, then they kind of feel like, to me, like they've flown the coop and they've found a life of their own again. I like to treasure and collect and look after stuff when it's more obscure and more unknown, so I love that it's out there again and people can enjoy it again. But I think once that happens, it kind of loses a bit of its, like, cult status, if that makes sense. So I don't mind when they re-release toys, and don't get me wrong, I work with Nima Studios and we release old toys again as new versions, so I'm kind of like cutting my nose off to spite my face when I say this in a way, but I just feel like sometimes, not always, that they do lose a bit of the charm. So when they do release a new toy, if I was to get, like, this toy that I've got in mind re-released, I'd want it to be exactly the same. I wouldn't want it to be sculpted any different, in a different kind of style. I wouldn't want it to have a different kind of aesthetic or anything like that. I'd want it to be exactly the same, literally like it was found in a time capsule and then just put out again today. And for me, it would be Mighty Max. I would love to see Mighty Max again, because there's so many unexplored, like, avenues of horror and sci-fi and action movies and stuff that I think they could delve into and re-release with new series of Mighty Max. So I did a whole video on Mighty Max. If you want to know how much I buzz off those fucking series and those sets, just go back and check out my video, Mighty Max Memories. So if they were going to do a new re-release of them, I would like them to be, like, exactly the same as the old ones. Sculpted the same, made the same, painted the same. I wouldn't want any kind of new revamped, like, contemporary style, more sharp, Johnny Bravo-esque kind of artwork that I always see. Like, if you look at the new Thundercats cartoon, it's drawn like a weird Johnny Bravo Cartoon Network style, and it doesn't work for me for 80s action and things like that. So I'm kind of rambling, but if you're going to remake a new toy, I want it to aesthetically be like the old one, and if you're going to do, like, a new and improved version of it, it's cool, it's just not always for me. So to answer the question, Mighty Max. What's your favourite toy in your collection and the oldest toy in your collection? Eddie Munster 1138 on Instagram. Oh man, it's hard to say. I've got like some 60s toys. I've got some old 50s tin robots and things like that. It's hard to say what the oldest toy is, but my collecting goes all the way back to anything that I think's cool. Some people just collect 80s and 90s and things like that. 70s toys are one of my favourites to collect. I love, like, the old Action Man space stuff that come out in the more 80s. But then I love Steve Austin's $6 Million Man and stuff like that. I like some of the old Megos. Obviously, I love old Shonen Cyborg figures there from the 70s. I love Great Garloo. If you watch this show, you know how much I love Great Garloo. That came out in 1961, so I like toys that go way back. I think they've all got a certain charm. Each era has its own charm, and I couldn't say what's the oldest in my collection, but I've got some old shit. And my favourite is, again, it's hard to say my favourite. I've probably spoke about them on other Q&A, like the other Q&A I did before this. I really love Henshin Cyborg. They're one of my favourite things that I own. I love my Mad Balls baseball bat. I love my Great Garloo. I've got a couple of really dope old BMXers that I really love, if they count. I love all this shit. It's hard trying to pick your favourite. It's like when you've got kids and people say, what's your favourite kid? You like them all in different ways individually. Top 5 favourite comic book covers. Oriel Gotch, I think that's how it's spelled. Oriel Gotch on Instagram. Top 5 would be a whole video of it on its own, but my favourite ever cover I covered recently in a 3-part series, Jason vs. Leatherface, which you can watch here again on YouTube. I sound like I'm constantly plugging my own shit, but somebody's got to, and it's just relevant to this question. The first ever issue of Jason vs. Leatherface is by far my favourite comic book cover ever, and like I say in that video, it might very well be my favourite piece of art ever. I think it's fucking astounding. It's by Simon Bisley. Jason and Leatherface are locking horns in the middle of, like, this fucking hellish swamp. It's fucking awesome. How old are you when you started collecting? That's by Everything Toys and Movies on Instagram. So I was born into collecting. My dad is a big collector. My dad collects old Action Men and Louis Marks and Tonto and the Lone Ranger figures, Mego and stuff like that. So I was raised into the world of collecting. I was raised on car boots and market stalls, and I talk all about this in the Q&A before this, so if you want me to like elaborate on it a little bit more, you can check that out. But basically from birth I was raised on car boots and market stalls and taught what to pick up and sell on and make money on and things like that. And my dad like never had he always worked for himself. He never worked for anyone having a job. He was always a hustler. He was always buying and selling and wheeling dealing, like Del Boy, but just a lot more fucking successful, because Del Boy never made any money. So I was raised into collecting, and I've always collected something in some form or another. I've always picked stuff up and sold it. I've always had a thing that I'm collecting, but it's always been a variation of toys. As a kid, I collected like all the He-Man and shit because I wanted to play with them. Getting Thundercats figures, Chitara took years to get back then, and same with April O'Neil. The female versions in the female toys and action figures were less popular, so as a kid trying to find them at Carboots was a lot harder. But so I've always collected them as like toys that I played with, and Battle Beasts and Z-Bots as a child, and then as you get older you got rid of it all. But I was there was always some that I collect, but then I got more into like Movie Maniacs and Spawn figures, McFarlane and stuff like that. And then when I got like 16, 17, 18, I got way more back into my vintage stuff. So I've always collected in some form. There's never been a time in my life where I haven't had a collection. I collect VHS as well. I've got a big VHS collection. Like I said, I've got BMXs and stuff, old school BMXs. I don't just collect toys, I just love fucking old cool shit. Anything from an era that I can pick up and it takes me back and makes me feel like I'm not living in fucking 2021 anymore. Because I'm not a big fan of the contemporary world. I like to live in the past in more ways than one. So a couple of people asked me this same question. Coltimus Prime and Thomas Fachita, I think I've said that right, apologies if not, both on Instagram, are both asking me about if I'm going to go to Japan in 2021 and what I'm looking forward to. I would fucking love to go back to Japan. I'd go now if I could. I've got another trip planned to America that I was supposed to do last year that's a filming job / toy hunting and that kind of thing, and that's something that I'm like super fucking looking forward to, but it got cancelled last year because of the pandemic and things. So that's kind of got to happen first before I go to Japan. But again, I don't know when I can get on a plane and go to America. Could be a good few months yet, so that's kind of on a back burner. And I'd love to go to Japan as well, but I'm not going to book anything until I know everything is fine to travel and stuff like that. I don't want to get to Japan and then have to quarantine for 2 weeks in my fucking hotel, because hotels in Japan are smaller than this room that I'm in now. It'll drive me nuts. So I really want to go to Japan. I fucking dream about Japan. I don't feel at home in England. I feel at home in Tokyo. That's like, when I'm there, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I belong. So it's like, I miss it. It's my calling to be there. But right now, it's not feasible to book anything. But as soon as I can go and I can get some money together, I will 100% go to Japan. There's loads of toy shops that I haven't checked out yet. I just love being there. I love the vibe. We could do a whole fucking video like this, podcasting about how dope Japan is and how much I miss being there. What's your grail collectible? Berrymus Prime on Instagram. I think you mean like what's something that I really want to get, which there's always loads of shit that I want to get. I really want like all the Shogun Warriors, the Godzilla and the Rodan included. I really want the Mattel Kraken. I'd love that whole series of Clash of the Titans, but they've always been hard to get. Like even like 10 years ago when I was like eBay trying to get that shit on eBay, it was like hundreds of pounds then, and it's just going up and up and up. So it's gonna be a while before I get like a full set of those and stuff. Ironically, you see the Shoguns in Japan all the time, but they're so big that like a couple of them in your suitcase and you'd have no space left. I also want all the Henshin Cyborg, all the Shonen Cyborg, sorry. Henshin Cyborg are the big ones, Shonen Cyborg are the smaller ones. I prefer the smaller ones, so I'd love a full set of them, but again, they go on forever, and you can get so many like cool Baron 1 and Red Baron and Kamen Rider and Ultraman clothes that fit on those things. They're so fucking dope. I would love all them. There's always stuff that I want. I talk about this a little bit on the last Q&A, stuff that I'm after. It never changes. There's always some dope shit that I want that I can't get, and it's kind of the thrill of the hunt. I'll get onto this later with carbooting stuff. The thrill of the hunt now for me is kind of over, because I've fucking done this for all my life, and now I get to a point where I'd like to just own it. There's some things I like to hunt down, other things I want to just own it. I've wanted it for so long, and I would rather just fucking buy it. I just want to get it for a good price, not a stupid price like a lot of people put on things nowadays. What's your favourite ever figure from a movie toy line? That's from Adam Boone on Instagram. From a movie toy line in particular, I love the big Freddy, the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy that I reviewed when we did the Celluloid Screams pop-up VHS video store. I love that toy. I love the big Commando Schwarzenegger figure. I reviewed that as well on this channel. There are a couple of big hitters that I really love that are movie-themed figures, and also the big Terminator and Talking Robocop, which I also reviewed in the Terminator Kenner episode I did on Slimehouse as well. I love that shit. Movie figures that are released for kids from movies that kids shouldn't have been watching are like one of my favourite things ever. I love that shit. It's so fucking bizarre and weird that they were put out, but the fact that they exist makes me fucking sleep better at night, because I just think it's fucking awesome. Just having a little bit more Fago. Prezem82, I think that's how you say his name on Instagram, and Moonjig Official. Two dope guys on Instagram. One's a toy collector, one's a sculptor. Two really fucking dope guys. Have asked pretty much the same question, and they've both asked, how do I stay motivated? Because I do a lot of different creative endeavours, and how do I tackle creator's block? So I don't really get creator's block, so to speak. I don't really get it. One of the reasons is because I don't have an opportunity to get creator's block, because I'm always drawing or editing or whatever. My job is editing and drawing, mainly drawing, so I can't not be creative. If I've got, like at the minute, I'm doing a huge fucking job where I have to draw 50 individual pieces for a company, and I don't have a time to not be creatively gassed about doing something, because I have to do it. Luckily, I don't ever really get creator's block, and if I'm ever, like when I was growing up, and I was drawing a lot as a kid, because I always drew in college and things like that. Sometimes I'd get a piece of paper and I'm like, oh, what to draw? What do I draw? Now, if I ever like remotely feel like that, I'll just sketch something I've drawn 1,000 times just to get better at it. I'm always sketching faces and claws and hands and knives and shit, so I'll just sit and sketch them. And also, I grew up loving graffiti, so I can always just do a little bit of tagging and some outlining of lettering and things like that. So I don't ever get creative block. If anything, I have the opposite thing. I have so much going on that it's frustrating that you can't get it all out, because you don't have the time to fucking get it all out, because you've always got something that you need to be getting on with. So I don't get creative block, but whenever I did, like growing up, when I had a piece of paper in front of me and I didn't know what to draw, I'd always just like watch some animation or look through some comics, and I would instantly get inspired. I'd see someone with like a gas mask and a gun and shit. I think, oh, I want to draw a guy like that. I'm going to draw a sick girl with a gas mask, and she's going to be fucking riding on a horse in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but the horse is robotic and there's a fucking helicopter in air. And then next minute I'm drawing some mad picture. I don't ever get like drained of creativity. If anything, I've got too much creativity in my head, and trying to express it all and get it out is the frustrating thing. Another question from PrezM82 on Instagram. It was like a two-part question that he asked me, so I wanted to answer it. And he says, out of the many creative endeavours you have pursued, which one has been the most satisfying and surprising? Now, I do lots of shit because I'm an illustrator, but then I illustrate for like comics and t-shirts and stuff like that, and just like general design illustration. But then a lot of that leads into toy creation. I design toys, not just the mappings of toys, but also the card backs and things like that. And a lot of that is like you get full creative control sometimes to like create a thing yourself. So I've done a lot of toy design, and then I do like my toy collecting, those kind of videos and editing, and then I do my movie stuff. I've got movies out and a new movie coming out as well. So I do lots of like crazy creative stuff in all like completely opposite directions, but I home it all in under the Slimehouse brand and hope that it all has like a certain kind of vibe and feel that no matter which direction I'm going in, it always feels like Theo Cane Slimehouse stuff. I mean, the movie stuff is the hardest shit to do. The movie stuff is the hardest thing like I've ever done in my life. It's no matter what kind of trauma I've been through, loss of friends and life, and fucking people around me getting terminally ill and all sorts of fucking horrible shit. Like, filming is still the thing that's like drained the fucking most out of me, which is weird because it's the thing that I want to do the most, like movie making and things like that. So without taking it too deep, like movie making is a thing that like beats you fucking down so hard, especially if you're tackling something that's really ambitious and you're relying on so many different people and weather and locations and all these different elements to come together and be perfect on the day. I watched something recently, and I can't remember who said it, but I listen to lots of podcasts and things, and the guy on it said it's so hard to make a bad movie. it's even harder to make a good one. So even making a shit movie is the hardest thing in the world. There's so many things that can make that movie shit. You could film something and the sound comes out beautiful and you really like how you shot and edit it, but the lighting was wank, so it's all grainy and it looks ass. Like, filming is the thing that's the most taxing, it's the most ambitious, it's the most, like, it's the hardest one, but it is the most rewarding when you've got something that you're happy with, which is very rare because it's so hard to put something together. So I'm rambling a bit, but filmmaking is like its own beast. The thing that's like a quicker turnaround that's really nice, that is the most surprising and something I never thought I would get into, is toy design. And that's not something that I actively seeked to get into, which is seeked out or sought after to become a part of. It's something that I was approached to do. And then when I started doing it, it made so much fucking sense. And everyone that I show the toys I've made go, fucking hell, you were born for this. Like, you've been a part of this for so long. And I'm like, yeah, like, it's fucking awesome. I only kind of see it as a side thing that I do. But getting a toy that you've created, like when we created Deflatron and I held it in my hand, it was like fucking awesome to know that, like, I'd drawn that thing and then it was made in vinyl and now it's a toy that's in a package that people can buy. Like, that's mind-blowing. That's one of the most rewarding things. And I've also done a lot of music as well back in the day, and some of the music that I did is things that, like, I can listen back to now, like 10 years later, and still not cringe at. I will never do that with artwork. I think I'll always look back at something I've done a few years ago and cringe at it. I don't think I do that with toy design. I don't think I do it with music, but I definitely do it with film and art. So yeah, it's weird. Artists are weird people. We don't know why we do this shit. We don't know why we put ourselves through so much fucking, like, stress and everything it takes to get this stuff done, but we do, and it's just who we are. It's what I am. It's what I was born to do. And he asks in this question, Prezem82, he says, like, how do you still stay in touch and in love with this creative stuff once you've seen the sausages made? And, like, I think he means, like, how once you've seen, like, how hard it is to get done and how much stuff can fuck up, and it's just like a drug. It's like an addiction. People take heroin even though they know it's bad for them because they just get that buzz that you can't get from anything else. And that filming and creative shit is my fucking heroin. I can't sleep at night if I don't feel like I've done enough creativity that day. At the same time, it fucking kills me sometimes. It drains my brain. But then as soon as I've finished a big project or I've got a big job and I've finished it, I'm sat there and I'm like, well, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? I'm going to do another video. I've got to edit. I need to get another job in. I want to draw something. So we're all our own worst enemy, creative people, but it's just the way we are. That was a really long-winded fucking answer to a pretty short question. Are you a fan of anime? I_Klex on Instagram. I do like anime. I'm not like a fucking top anime nerd, which is surprising to a lot of people because of how much I love Japanese culture and things like that. I love Akira and I love Gaiva and Ghost in the Shell and the classics and things like that. Some people just like any anime, like they just love the look of anime. And I get it, but it's not my favourite form of animation. My favourite form of animation is like old school 80s animation. I think that's untouchable. So to me, like the old Thundercats, the intro to the Thundercats cartoon is one of the greatest fucking animations ever. Like, it's drawn flawlessly. That to me is like my favourite animation. And growing up, I loved all Mazinger Z and all the giant robot animations, the Japanese animated robot shows as a youth. I love them as well. So I am a fan of anime. It's not like I can't live without it. Like some people, anime is life, and it does surprise people when I tell people I'm not like a gigantic fan of anime, but the ones I like, I really fucking like. Another question, Aaron Arthur Anderson, he works for Chance Priest at the Victory Comics factory painting the fucking dope Victory Comics figures and the Woto figures and stuff like that. He sent me a message, I don't know where he sent it, but he asked me basically, is there any 80s toy that I should be collecting that I don't have in my collection? And yo, there's too many. Growing up, I said growing up, let's say like when I started picking up like collecting 80s toys and stuff again, they were it was a lot cheaper because I'm 33 now and that's when I was like 17, 18, so it was a long time ago now. And you could go on eBay and a lot of the toys that are expensive now, I thought they was pretty expensive back then, but I wish I'd have got them then and kept hold of them. because of how much they are now. So there's lots of toys, particularly Dino Riders. I've been offered the full set of Dino Riders a couple of times, like 10 years ago, and I turned them down because at the time they wasn't that sought after, and it wasn't that I didn't want them, it was just that they wasn't rare enough for me to be like dropping a couple £100 on the full set there and then. I was like, I'll get them when I get them. Like, there's no rush to get them. They're not a popular toy line. But now they're fucking very popular. So the Dino Riders are definitely one that I wish I would have collected more back then and kept now, because the ones I've got now I really fucking love, but it's a very sparse collection. And there's another few things like that. My Brave Star collection, I love Brave Star figures, and I went through a phase of buying bits and bats of those, but I still don't have the 3030 horse. I still don't have a saddle for my Skullwalker. My Thunder Stick still needs a cape, and they're all the kind of thing that I saw and I thought, I don't really want to pay a tenner for a cape. I'll get one when I get one. I'm in no rush to get it, and I wish I'd have got it then, because now it's really hard to find a Thunder Stick cape that's a good price. If you have a Thunder Stick cape and a saddle for the Skullwalker, holler me, because we'll work out how I buy those off you, because I want that shit. So Carboots, we'll talk about carbooting, which is the reason I wanted to do this video. All the toy collectors at the minute that I know across the UK are going out and filming carboot videos on weekend mornings. They strap a GoPro to the chest and they walk around picking up the stuff that like videoing the stuff that they pick up and things like that. And there's a couple of reasons I don't do it. Well, the main reason is when I go to a carboot, the last thing I'm thinking about is filming. The last thing. When I go to a carboot, I'm like a fucking Terminator. I have one mission and it's to pick up that dope shit, and I'm just fucking running, scanning. The last thing I think about is fucking pressing a GoPro and trying to record footage. And if I do that, I'll be thinking too much about filming and getting shots and picking up something than I am of actually fucking doing the carboot. I'm one of those guys, when we go, I either go with my friend Booms or I go with Slacker, and we go like 5 AM in the morning. I get up at 5 AM, the carboot opens at about, so this is how they work. Okay, first of all, this is what a carboot is, because some of the Americans was commenting and saying, what is a carboot? It's basically like a big yard sale, a big flea market in a field. People pull up in their cars in rows, they set up a table and they just sell shit from their house like you would at a yard sale. But it's not like a flea market where it's the same people like traders every week. These are just normal everyday people. You do get like a lot of traders, but generally I'd say a good 80-90% are just people that turn up with their car full of stuff because they've cleared out their loft, their attic, or their shed, or their basement, or whatever, or they're getting rid of some stuff and they get it out. So you can find anything. You can find anything, and over the years I have found everything. So that's what a carboot is. Now, there's two ways that they work. If a carboot opens at 6 o'clock to traders, that means at 6 o'clock you drive up with your car full of stuff, you pay them like £10, whatever it is to pitch, and then you set up your stall, and then they start letting in buyers like myself at 6:30. So if you want the fucking first early bird pickings of stuff, you have to pay for a pitch. You have to pay them a tenner, 6 AM, pay them £10. Usually you have to put some stuff in your car so it looks like you're actually standing and you're not just turning up to buy. Some car boots don't mind, but others are like, no, if you're just here as a buyer, then you have to come in at 6:30. So you have to put some stuff in your car, turn up at 6 o'clock, and then you're there at the same time as all the other cars pulling up. And a lot of the traders and other car boot people, they're like vultures. As soon as a car pulls up, the boot opens, it's swarmed by 6, 10, 20 people, and you'll have one guy there like, excuse me love, have you got any gold? Because there'll be a guy that buys gold. There's someone that's like, have you got any vintage clothes? You got any old football shirts? There's people who are like me, who are like, oh, have you got any old toys, any old Ski Electrics, any Meccano, Subutio, anything like that, He-Man figures, Lego. There's always a Lego guy. Have you got any Lego? Because they just deal in Lego. And I don't like being that person. I don't like being that person that's there with a torch in the back of someone's boot the second they open. When I've done car boots and people are like that, I feel like being like, yo, fuck off, get away from my car. When I'm ready to sell, I will let you know. And some are like that. Some people, I remember one time I went to a car boot and somebody instantly come out and he got the Ghostbusters Firehouse, which I've got up there, which you won't be able to see on this video. But he got out the Ghostbusters Firehouse and a Castle Grayskull and loads of toys. And I'm like, yo, excuse me, pal, how much do you want for them? He goes, not selling anything yet, mate. I go, okay, I'll buy it now. How much do you want? Not selling anything yet, mate. Just setting up and then we'll let you know. So some people are cunts, man, like that. They'll let you see what they're selling, but they won't sell it to you. So they're the annoying ones. But at the same time, role reversed when I've been that guy that's selling at a car boot, which is rare because I don't really sell at car boots, but when I ever have, there's nothing more annoying than people just in your fucking space the second you get there. It's 6 in the morning, you're tired, you're trying to set up, it's cold, and there's 20 people asking you 20 fucking questions. So you can either go in at 6 o'clock and be the people there like that first, looking at every stall, and that's when you're gonna get the good shit. Like, being real, that's when you're gonna get the good shit, because by the time you get there, I'm always like in the first like 5 people queuing up first, ready to get in at like 6:15, 6 o'clock. We'll get there and queue up for half an hour and be the first in. But by that point, most of the stalls are already set up, so they've already kind of been depleted. So the best time to get there is 6:30. So this is all shit I'll be thinking about. I'm not thinking about pressing the GoPro on. At the same time, England is so small. I could go on about this shit forever, right? Because I was raised on Carboots. But England is so small that if you're going to find like any He-Man or anything like that at a Carboot, or Transformers or Thundercats, Power Rangers and old shit, Action Man, it's all been fucking rinsed over and over again. Stuff does still turn up. Stuff does still turn up at Carboots, but it's less and less and less every year. If you compare a Carboot now to 10 years ago, I used to fill the fucking car up. I see people now putting up their hauls and they're like, oh, I've had a right day today. It's been the best Carboot day ever. I got 4 figures, a busted up He-Man, a busted up Egon with his fucking tie snapped off, some comics and an old VHS. I'm like, bro, that's the shit I would leave because the car was full of good shit. So it's disheartening now when I go to the Carboots and I see what people are buzzing out of people that have been going for like a few years, and they're buzzing out over a little handful of toys. It's just like depressing to me, because it's like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I've been doing this shit since I was born, raised on Carboots. This here, what you're thinking is good, is like depressing. It's like going to a third world country and you see like some kids buzzing off fucking water, like a bottle of water and shit, and you feel bad. You're like, yo, I've got a tap that I can just rinse all day at home, and these kids are fucking dying because they can't get water. And I know that's like a really fucking extreme analogy, but that's kind of what it's like when I see these people buzzing off like nothing at Carboot. So every now and again you still do get some nice stuff. Recently I saw a couple of friends I know on Instagram who go toy hunting, and they got some nice bits at a Carboot. Also, for years I used to buy and sell toys and buy and sell things, and not only was I on my dad's stall, I used to sell on my dad's stall, I also used to work at a vintage centre, and I had a big fucking display unit there full of vintage stuff. So a few years ago when I was at the Carboot, I was looking for taxidermy, I was looking for comics, any toys that I could sell, any vintage sportswear, any vintage vinyl. There was so much that I would pick up. I couldn't not go to a Carboot and get loads of shit. When I go to a Carboot now, I'm just looking for myself. So it's very distinct things. If I see a few beaten up He-Man, I'm not really bothered about getting them. That's not what I'm there for. I've had thousands of beat up He-Man. I can get beat up He-Man any day. You want the creme de la creme. So for me now, it's like once every few years that something good turns up at a Carboot, and it does turn up every now and again. But for every one Carboot that you get that good thing, you have to go to 20 that aren't good. So Carboots have gone downhill. And like I was saying, England is so small now that it's been rinsed over and over. When you go to America and you go to the flea markets in America, every fucking toy stall has beat up He-Man and old toys and things like that on them. It's almost like a toy fair sometimes at some of those flea markets. They're bad boy. I love going to them. And it makes you think like, yo, America's so big. There's still so much of them toys that are still not in the hands of collectors, or if the people that are like dealers selling toys, they're still there. I don't mind going to a Carboot and there's a toy dealer there selling He-Man 50 quid each that have got the weapons. I don't care. I would rather do that. I would rather go and spend 50 quid on a fucking figure that I need that's got all its weapons, rather than rummaging in boxes for 20 years trying to find 3 weapons to go with a Playmate's fucking turtle mutant that I've had years. So the thrill of the hunt for me has kind of died when it comes to Carboots. I still go to Carboots, I'll always go to them, but the thrill of the hunt and the excitement of a Carboot in many ways has died for me, because I was there in the golden age, the heyday when all this stuff was sick, and then I go to America and Japan and you can still get all this vintage shit, you pay more for it, but it's there. That's why I don't mind going to a toy fair. I'll go to a toy fair and I know I'm going to spend money on something that I want, but at least it's fucking there. I don't want to go around Carboots and just be fucking picking through everyone's leftovers, even if you're there first thing, because most of the shit in England now is leftovers. And don't get me wrong, I still see my friends pick up stuff. Now and again, people do get shit, and then other people will go and they'll get lots of comics and they get Marvel Legends and all this stuff that I don't collect and I don't care about, and it's cool for them. but it's not for me. So the stuff I like now is so distinct that you don't see it very often. Now and again, I'll look in like a box of fucking old cars and there's a couple of battle beasts in the bottom. You find a bag of monster in my pockets and shit sometimes, but it is very rare. Also, what you also get now is people that have got old toys, but they've looked online first how much everything's worth. So these aren't even the dealer types, because a dealer type, like my dad, would know, okay, these E-Man are generally worth this much. These Transformers are generally worth this much. Some people have like last week we saw a guy with one Triclops and he wanted £10 for a busted up Triclops with no armor, because he's obviously been on eBay, seen someone sell it as a buy it now, and thought, oh, that's how much it's worth, so he's put it on his store like that. And it's the same with taxidermy, it's the same with all the old military stuff I buy. Everybody nowadays wants to be like that wheeler dealer. They all want to be like Drew off fucking Salvage Hunters, and they all go online first and check the prices of things. So a lot of the time I'll see something like this at a car boot, not this because I would pick this up, but you'll see a toy and you'll pick it up and you'll go, how much is that, love? And you'll go, oh, 40 quid. And I go, 40 quid? And she'll go, oh yeah, there's 60 quid them on eBay, going for 60 quid on eBay. I go, well, fucking put it on eBay then. Why are you stood in a field in the cold? Stick it on eBay, stay in bed. Is it made of gold? Is it made of gold with that price? I don't understand. It's a car boot, man. It's a car boot. Don't be chucking 40 quid prices at me for something that's not worth 40 quid because you think it's worth 40 quid on eBay. So I get frustrated at car boots. And I sound really fucking bitter, and I'm not, because I love going to the car boot. I just like being up early, getting fresh air, getting my 10,000 steps in, and just hooking on my people, and I know loads of people at the car boot. But in regards to filming them, it's just not for me anymore, and I hope that answers the question of why they're not for me anymore. I have some really fun stories at the car boot. One of the questions from Frank was like, what's your funniest thing at the car boot? It's impossible to say. I've seen full-blown fights break out at a car boot over a fucking glass ashtray. Yo, people go hard at the car boot, and dealers will stab each other in the back for an action man, but that's because of how fucking cutthroat they are at car boots nowadays, that like people will fall out with the best mate over some fucking shitty toys that 100,000 people have already picked through for the sake of making a fiver on it. And it's just not my scene anymore. I would rather take 50 quid to a toy fair or to eBay and just buy the thing that I actually want, rather than walk around a car boot, not get anything, and just feel like a sense of disheartenedness and the depression of seeing other people buzz off like nothing that they've picked up, like a few comics and a few toys. So that's what it is. But if you enjoy going to the car boots, fucking big ups to you, and I know that they get good views and stuff, and a lot of them people will have only been going for a few years, and that's why they love them so much. But for me, I would rather save up all the money from a year of car booting and take that to a toy fair, or put that towards a plane ticket to go to America or Japan or somewhere where I know I'm going to get that cool shit that I want. Because when I go to car boots, I'm not picking stuff up to sell at a toy fair or to sell on Instagram or on Marketplace. I just want to get something cool for myself, and it's so rare now to find that. Soon as I do find my next good thing, I'll let you know, because I'll put it on my Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram at Theo_Cane_Slimehouse. If you enjoyed this video today, don't forget to give it a like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on anything that we've discussed today. Keep checking up on my Instagram for updates, and just keep checking back for new videos. I upload loads of shit on this Slimehouse channel. I don't often do these like straight talking, unscripted videos to camera, and I'll let you know that every time I do one, because I don't really enjoy doing them. But thank you so much for watching this video today. I'm Theo Cane, and I'll catch you in the next video. For now, I'm gone. Pow!